Welcome to the Think Like a Musician podcast. This show will teach you the time management skills you need to be joyful, productive, and fulfilled in all areas of life. You're going to learn a completely unique and innovative approach to managing your crazy, busy life. I'm a lifelong musician, so you're going to hear a musician's creative and intuitive system for time management and work-life balance. We'll discuss time management, work-life balance, goal setting, inspiration, creativity, peak performance, and living your purpose. I want to help you live your life like it's a masterpiece. I'm a life coach, professional speaker, productivity expert, and your host, Scott Snow. Okay, welcome to the show. This is episode 83, and it's titled To-Do Lists Suck. 5 tools to help you be more productive than stinking to-do lists. This is one of the questions I get most often with clients is about to-do lists. And really, I think of to-do lists, of course, we need, some to-do lists, but it's such a surface level thing. It's really just the beginning. So you want to have some other skills that you can depend on that are a lot more meaningful and that do a much better job than to-do lists. Now, here's one. This is an exercise called Around the World. And to do this, you would have to have already created your list of the roles that you play. And you can look to, even the first episode I did with this podcast, I tell you how to identify your 15 to 20 different roles that you play, all the hats that you wear. So once you have that role list, Around the World means that you just take a moment, close your eyes, relax, let the thoughts drift from your mind. And then you just go through each role for a couple minutes each and just think of that role and how you are in that role right now. It's like you take a little evaluation, an assessment of how things are going within that role. Now, you'll also have already done your work on your mission statements and your purpose and your goals. So this will all help you make an assessment. Because if you don't know all that stuff, then this exercise is useless. So I got this idea from the little basketball game that you play with kids around the world, where you have to hit a shot from all these different areas around the key on the basketball court. And if you miss one, you got to go back to the first one. So it's just this directed approach of each one in sequence. So you go through all of your roles and you can think of whatever comes up, think of some questions, what needs to change in your role? What's a trend in that role? What's a routine that you could refine to make progress on that role? And your mind will tell you those big answers if you quiet down for a minute. Get beyond the surface level reaction and thinking that has become our lives. Tool number 2, ask quality questions. Instead of just jotting down a list of things you'll probably never get to do in your to-do list, ask great questions. Who could be your mentor? What are the resources I have access to that I'm not using? How can I streamline my busy life? What routines can I start? What are some streaks that I'd like to start? Use audio recordings to help you instead of a to-do list. Each day you should be listening to your list of roles, your goals, and your mini mission statements. This helps ground you and connect you with all that's important. You have to revisit it or it just falls by the wayside. Here's an example of a mini mission statement for let's pick one here. I got a whole bunch that I did. For spiritual person and meditator. Here's my mini mission statement that I have recorded and I listen to every day to reconnect me with how I'm at my best in that role. I'm a spiritual person and meditator. Transcendental meditation brings beautiful depth to my life. When I'm deep within silence, I catch those big fish ideas. I experience bliss whenever I want. Meditation helps me find my center and gets me in the zone for the rest of the day. Being a spiritual person and lifelong meditator helps me share my soul with a world that desperately needs it. This is my magic reset button. So that's an example of a mini mission statement that I would have recorded on audio, listen in your phone, in your car, wherever's best every day. Next one is to silence those voices in your head. One way that a to-do list does benefit you is that it gets those ideas out of your head, which is good. But also there's other ways. A lot of times we don't realize how pervasive our inner thoughts are and how really they're gumming up the works a lot of times. We don't need it. If we take the time to really plan and know what we're doing, set our direction in the proper way for something worthy and worthwhile, then we don't have to keep thinking about whether we should do it or whether we want to do it or not. So this is an exercise I call the towel folding exercise for mindset and peak performance. Grab some towels out of the dryer and start folding them. But don't think about anything. Just reach out and grab the nearest one, the most convenient one, start folding it, and then put it down, and then grab the next one. And if you find yourself having that inner chatter, well, maybe I'll get this one, or I should get this towel over here, then stop and begin again. You want to get into that flow state where you're not even thinking of those things. You're just doing the most logical action. And you get into that flow and that rhythm of taking action. The next step would be to try to tidy up your work area for 5 minutes and have that same approach. If you start thinking and having those nasty opinions about everything, stop and reset and do it again with a clear, focused mind. Next step would be take an hour and get your work done without having that inner chatter going on. And then you can just keep multiplying it. Now we're trying to do a half a day where you're trying to have that mindset. The fifth tool that you can use that is better than a to-do list is to embrace the magic spiral. That sounds crazy. Well, all day long, you're spiraling in and out in focus in what you're doing, and you probably don't even realize it. Sometimes you have to do detail work. Sometimes you have the big picture thinking. And I found a lot of times that when I was creatively blocked, that I was using the wrong lens. Maybe I was thinking I needed to think big picture, but I was actually in a detail-oriented mindset, or vice versa. So you have the power to be able to adjust in and out. Think of a microscope and you're turning that dial to go and focus, really, really focused, detail, small, granular, and then maybe you need to back it out, however much you need to back it out. Just being aware of this will help you focus and be more productive. Here are some deep thinking techniques that will force you to access those deeper resources in your mind. You can't be surface level thinking with these techniques. Brainstorming, center, where you get really focused. Connect, consider, decide. When you make a decision, you've got to really think. You've got to burrow down into that deeper level of thinking. You can't just make a surface level thought for decisions. And I find that a lot of us don't make enough decisions throughout the day. Make more decisions. Make big decisions every day. Intuition, meditation, strategizing, questioning, planning, prioritizing, and visioning. Now I have some additional stories for you that will help you to be more joyful, productive, and fulfilled. Have that productivity and live your purpose, all that good stuff. These are all inspirational stories or observations that I've come across that I've put together, curated for you. Bill Belichick, the coach of the New England Patriots, is an interesting fellow. And I always like hearing about how peak performers do their job. And certainly he's probably the most famous and most accomplished football coach in history, right? Bill Belichick has so many ways to beat you. It's crazy. He's got the rules. He knows the rules so well, like he can, move in and out of the gray areas there and beat you that way. He can beat you with the clock, managing the clock in an expert way, special teams, the defense, the offense. trick plays. So he's got a lot of different ways that he can wear you down. The Giants quarterback, Phil Simms, who used to play for Belichick when Belichick coached for the Giants long ago, he said, "I've never known Belichick not to be aggressive." And Belichick, most people say that he's not afraid to swing big. He doesn't care what people think. He does his own thing. And that's part of the reason why he's been so successful. For example, letting Cam Newton go. We figured for sure he'd be the top quarterback, but he let him go. And now he has this rookie, Mac Jones from Alabama, is going to be the future of the Patriots. That's a bold decision. So he makes bold decisions. That's an inspiration for us all, making bold decisions. And what does it take for us to go against the grain? We need a mission. We need a purpose. We need to know our core values. The core values of this company and this time management system are to be joyful, productive, and fulfilled. You've got to have confidence in yourself to go against the grain. Football is like going to war. In fact, Belichick quoted the General Dwight Eisenhower and said, "A battle plan is great until you actually get into the battle. Then it doesn't mean anything." Which reminds me of the Mike Tyson quote when he says, "You can plan all you want for your opponent, but that plan changes when you get punched in the face." I like to do a battle plan at night, think about the next day. Of course, I like to collect ideas throughout the day, so you have all those components. Of course, it's not going to go as you plan, but the process of being prepared and preparing your plan is essential in that it helps you be ready for anything that comes. If you're not even at that step where you know what you want to do, you're really going to be just riding the waves throughout the day and being tossed about in the surf. You've got to be well prepared, but you have to be flexible. He says that his job as head coach is to make good decisions, not block or tackle. Preparation is everything if you want to perform well under pressure. They only have one sign in the Patriots locker room, and that is from The Art of War, Sun Tzu, which says, "Every battle is won before it's fought." And that goes along, that's in alignment with their real heavy focus on preparation. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for the preparation throughout the week at any top team. I'm fascinated with the process. Belichick says he started breaking down film at age 7 with his dad, who was the coach at Annapolis. And Belichick spends a lot of time team building. The Patriots have trained with the Navy SEALs. I never knew that. They also have a trivia night, and no social media is allowed. And Belichick really knows the value of seeing his players as whole people. They're not just football players for him. He's taking into consideration all of their roles, their whole set list, and that work and life are inseparable. That's Bill Belichick. Love him or hate him. One show I always liked was the original Star Trek with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. And there was one episode in particular that was always my favorite. It's called Gamesters of Triskelion. And they end up on this planet, and there's these aliens, and they have to fight them like this duel to the death on this big, it's like a tennis court with all these weird lines, and they have to fight. And in one of the scenes, Kirk is talking to these, it's like 3 brains in jars, that are like the brain of the planet, the leaders, but they're not in physical form. And they're all wagering because they just like wagering, who's going to win, the human or the alien. So they wager, and their money system there is called quat-lose. So at one point they're all arguing back. Kirk is trying to say, let us go. We don't want to be fighting all these people. And all those brain things are saying, I bet 10 quat-lose for the human. I'll raise you 15 quat-lose. Well, how about 35 quat-lose? And then finally, Kirk has my favorite line. He says, gentlemen, we're not dealing in quat-lose. So this makes me think of this surface level thinking that we all engage in. And it really makes it hard to communicate. and to work with others, because we're all just reacting, constant reaction. I really think we need to refine our routines and our systems throughout the day so they're so finely tuned and in tip top shape that when the other things happen, we're able to delve in. And like I said, use some of those deep thinking techniques. I'm amazed at all of the news stories of school committees that are just people are obnoxious, screaming and yelling and threatening violence and just like babies. I mean, it can't be that freaking hard to run a school. In fact, that's a motto I often use, and I'll share it with you. I put it on my Yoda board a lot, which is a little whiteboard with Yoda on it. It's it's not that freaking hard. With everything, with that attitude, with creativity, I believe you can solve any problem. That's why I love being a musician. Musicians are all about creativity and performance, and that's what we need. And working together. Musicians, when a band gets together, usually they're totally focused on making the groove right, working together. Everyone has their own part, and everyone's part come together and make a great, bigger thing than each individual person could have. I guess that's the way democracy is supposed to be. Sometimes I think democracy seems like we just have to put up with the dumbest person's views. We can only innovate as much as the common denominator, the lowest faction, can comprehend. So getting back to that deep thinking tools, taking a moment throughout the day. It only takes a few minutes. You can do it in 30 seconds. Be aware, focus in. Once you have that, you can tap into the power of your subconscious mind and your concentration. Let your mind help you. There's no limit. I remember the comedian Sam Kinison. There was one video I saw of him, and there was some heckler that started to get involved in. And Kinison just looked at the person and said, "The last thing in the world you want is my undivided attention. So just be quiet." And of course, the person couldn't be quiet and got it from Sam. I've realized that my blog is now more interesting than my audio journal, my journal, which at first I was kind of disappointed, but then I said, you know what? I think that's the right step. That means my life, my business life, and is intertwined with my personal life, and everything of value is coming through in the business. So I like that. My audio journal process, I really love having an audio journal. It's a lot more time convenient. It saves a lot more time to do an audio journal than by writing or typing. And I found I just couldn't do everything I want to do and still sit down and type for a half hour about my journal or write in a notebook. I wish I could. Maybe at some point I can get back to it. But what I do is throughout the day, I use a 5 subject notebook, and I just jot down little snippets. I call them creative snippets throughout the day, interesting things I want to talk about. And then at night, I'll just take my audio recorder and just blab away. And I have my little talking points, my bullet points. Journaling is one of the best things you can ever do. For creativity, it's awesome. For problem solving, stress management, for processing ideas. It's just, there's so many benefits to it. So I highly suggest getting into a habit of daily journaling. It's great to look back and see how far you've come or what you were challenged with, 5 years ago or 12 years ago. I was reading an old journal from 1982. I was like 11 years old. I went to my first rock concert, Ted Nugent, and Crocus opened up for him. So I was reading about my experience there. I think my only regret is that I haven't started journaling every day. I should have started when I was like 10 years old, every day. That's my only regret, I think. I would have loved to have done that and be able just to scan through and anything I wanted to look up and revisit. Now, this comparison between my blog and my journal, it made me think of, it's sort of like a frequency. when you see a diagram, and let's say the very top fringe is the very personal to my life, to just share in my blog or my podcast. Then at the very bottom is kind of the drab day to day, I saw this person or we had this meeting, and things you want to record but aren't really that interesting for anyone but me. And then you've got this wider range in the middle, this frequency, this chunk in the middle, that would be for your blog. So that's all the interesting stuff you want to explore. So you've got little stuff at the top, personal, gossipy. The bottom is very small. It's the drab little details. And in the middle is a big wide range of stuff you want to use in your blog. You never know what journaling will bring about. The other day I was going to the bathroom. I had the music on. I had Private Idaho, my own private Idaho. I'm living in my own private Idaho, from the B-52s. It was on the radio, and it reminded me of being back in high school, my senior prom. And they played that at the reception there at the party. And suddenly it made me realize, thinking back to that year in high school, that it was sort of like I cobbled together a social life at the very, very end at high school. I never thought about this before. And, music can help you with that. And I was very involved with the Boston Crusaders drum corps from when I was a junior in high school on. And I was just constantly there, rehearsals and performances and trips. Really, my whole life, my whole social life in the second years, the later 2 years of high school, was just with the Boston Crusaders. So I really didn't have many friends at school. Some in the band, but none outside of that. So I was like racing to cobble together like a life at the very end. It was kind of just an interesting thought. You can't snap your fingers together and just create a whole tapestry of friends and connections and networks. So journal about it. Last year, I was really into the treadmill. I wanted to get on the treadmill every day, and I had a goal. I love the original Twilight Zone. So my goal, and I got all hyped up about this 156 episodes of the Twilight Zone, and I wanted to make a streak. My goal was to watch a Twilight Zone episode on my iPad while I ran on the treadmill for 20 minutes every day for 156 straight days. Very clear, specific. That was my action goal. Well, I only made it 2 days. So then I figured, well, what if I figured that out with my calculator and saw what percentage of effort I was able to bring about compared to what I need? Of course, I needed 100% effort. If I did that, I would have gone 156 days in a row and had that great streak of getting into a habit of exercise. But I only did it 2 out of the 156 days. So when I did the math, that means I had a 1.28% percentage of the effort required to fill that goal. 1%. So I vastly underestimated what was required to do that. But that was a good thing. It's a good assessment tool. And I plan to get back to it. On this idea of streaks, I was reading about, it was a video I saw on TikTok about Jerry Seinfeld, and that a starting comic asked Seinfeld for his advice. What do I do? How do I get better being a comic? The guy's name was Brad Isaac. Seinfeld thought for a minute and he says, you know what? The best thing you can do is you have to be funny, right? And the only way you can be funny is to write jokes. The only way to get really good at writing jokes is to do it consistently. So Seinfeld said, get a monthly calendar, post it on the wall, and then every day, write jokes. When you write jokes, put an X on that date. Now, your whole focus is to get, maybe 7 or 8. Now you got a streak going. And then he says, once you're at that, 7 to 10, your whole focus is to not mess up the streak. And that's great advice. Don't break that chain. I also think of Ozzy Osbourne. I love Ozzy. And there was one of his episodes in his show where he fell off the wagon again. And, I'm always impressed with people that have substance abuse problems and that are addicts, their ability to get back on and, start again. And the next day is going to be the day one of this next streak. I love that. We all have that. We can always start our next day one tomorrow or today. I guess preferably today. Well, here in Boston, I live in Massachusetts, so they're having a big mayoral race. I think that's how you say it. And I'm always curious about how leaders develop. The Boston Globe has been reporting a lot on the backgrounds of all these candidates. And I really find it interesting to see how leaders develop. What happened in their childhood to make them become great leaders. All 5 candidates are people of color. There's 4 females and 1 male. And one interesting term I heard was that we suffered from imagination barrier. And that's where we didn't have the vision for females in leadership in Boston. It was always a white man, like an Irish or Italian white man. So that idea of the imagination barrier, I like that. Michelle Wu is the front runner for the mayor position. And she was talking about how we need to tackle big, bold challenges and not just nibble around the edges of the status quo. And that's so well done. Some people just have a way with words, I guess. Maya Angelou said whenever she embarked on a new writing project or a book, she brought everyone who had ever been kind with her, not physically, but spiritual, with her to that project. I've been listening to Jim Collins on YouTube. This guy's brilliant. I love his take on level 5 leadership. And of course, with all leaders, we want to see what kind of leader they are. His description of these 5 layers or levels of leadership is pretty interesting. Level 1 is to have the individual capabilities. You're competent. Level 2 is that you work with others well and that you're competent. Number 3 is that you're competent and effective with management. And number 4, level 4, is that you provide direction and lead the team. But there's one step higher, and that's this level 5 leadership, which I'm fascinated with. This combines all of those things. Individual, you can play well with others, you're competent and effective in management, you provide direction and leadership, but also you have humility. So this idea that you're still just as aggressive and hardworking, enthusiastic, passionate, but you have that humility that you'd rather fight for the cause than for yourself. Examples of past level 5 leaders are Nelson Mandela, Cesar Chavez, Walt Disney, Mother Teresa. They focus on results, not getting credit. Don't be interesting, be interested, and learn from everyone you meet. And the way you focus on level 5 leadership, developing these skills, is to find something for which you have so much passion that you're willing to endure the pain. A question you can ask for level 5 leadership is, how can I be useful? And you have to find ways to be ambitious for the cause, not for the self. What level leader are you? What would you need to do to become a level 5 leader? Well, we're coming to an end of today's episode. We talked a lot about Bill Belichick and decision-making and being bold and preparation. Talked about level 5 leadership. We talked about deep thinking techniques, leadership development with the race for mayor in Boston. So we covered a lot. We talked even about Star Trek and Quatloos and not remaining at that surface level of thinking. So, and of course, we gave you some tips, 5 tools that are much better than having a to-do list to be productive. So you can be joyful, productive, and fulfilled. I'd like to offer you a free 3-session package of coaching. This is a great opportunity for you. Costs nothing. 3 30-minute sessions that I will do with you over the phone or Zoom for a limited time. And the title of this package of coaching is Roles and Goals. So in these 3 sessions, our focus is going to be to help you create a list of your roles, your set list, which is so key and crucial, and some mini mission statements for each of those roles, so you know why you want to be good at all those roles, and your goals, 4 types of goals. So let me get a little deeper here. Your set list is going to be comprised of 4 different types of roles: mind, body, spirit roles, giving, receiving roles, personal roles, and professional roles. And then the goals that we're going to come up with are going to be made up of 4 types of different goals. You probably didn't even know there were 4 types of goals. The 4 types are action goals. Example, I meditate 20 minutes every day. Snapshot goals. I'm a visionary. I travel the USA speaking. Deadline goals. By December 31st, I weigh 170 pounds. And combination goals, which is just more than one of the different types of goals packaged together that they reinforce each other. An example might be I'm a professional speaker. So a couple action goals might be to do a weekly report of how much progress I've made, how many gigs I've gotten, how many calls I made. Action goal of make 50 sales calls a day to get gigs. Do 1 hour of web research to find gigs and see what other people are doing. A snapshot goal, travel the USA speaking. Deadline goal, by April 5th, I earn X dollars per month. Well, not April 5th, but by the year's end or quarter 3, I earn X amount of dollars per month speaking. And another action goal, 30 minutes working on my speaking every day, the Scott Snow Show. And once you do this 3 coaching package, here are some of the results you can expect. You'll identify the key areas in your life and key roles you have to work on. You'll get perspective on your busy life, see all those moving pieces. Your challenging roles will be just a part of you, not your whole life. You'll start to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to go. You'll make space for those future goals. Where are you working towards? You have to adopt that role right now, even though you're not a philanthropist or you're not a millionaire. You've got to assume that role right now and then work into it. You got to clarify your goals and your actions that you can take, so you have a plan, not just all talk. And you'll have an accountability partner. I'll be waiting to meet with you each month so we can review the assignment for last time and then move on to the next one. So you're going to be accountable to get that done. That's going to help you as well. And you're going to connect your whys and your purpose. And once you do that, you have unlimited energy for your cause. So a lot of really good benefits at no cost to you. 3 sessions for 30 minutes each. And maybe if you're happy with it, I might ask you for a testimonial. Or maybe you'll say you'd like to do a quick testimonial. That will help me. In order to claim this excellent gift, just text me. Text me the secret message, roles and goals. And my text number is 774-230-3928. And just write in the message there, the header, roles and goals, and I know exactly what you mean. And we'll schedule and get it on the calendar right away. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time. Visit thinklikeamusician.org for more information on how we can help you and your team with peak performance, time management, and work-life balance. We offer coaching, trainings, and workshops that'll empower you to be joyful, productive, and fulfilled in all areas of life. Visit thinklikeamusician.org.